Hi students, today we are going to discuss about the topic named as multiprocessor configuration. In last video, we discussed about the minimum mode and maximum mode configuration of 8086 microprocessor. So in the previous video, we discussed about the block diagram, timing diagram, and some basic concepts of maximum and minimum mode configuration. So in today we are going to discuss about multiprocessor configuration. So first, what is meant by multiprocessor configuration? So multiprocessor configuration is nothing but as a system that includes two or more components or two or more processors that execute instructions simultaneously is called multiprocessor configuration. So the keywords are: it executes the instructions simultaneously and it communicates with each other. It is called as multiprocessor configuration. So basically in maximum mode there are three basic types of multiprocessor configuration. The first one is coprocessor configuration, second one closely coupled configuration, and third one is loosely coupled configuration. So here the coprocessor configuration is nothing but as a main processor with coprocessor. Okay, that coprocessor is called as 8087 processor. So the main processor is the 8086 microprocessor and the coprocessor is called as 8087. So 8087 is nothing but as numeric data processor. So simply it is called as NDP. So this processor can perform the floating point operations, so that is called as NDP. And next one is closely coupled configuration. In closely coupled configuration, the coprocessor is called as 8089. So 8089 is nothing but as IOP processor, that is input output processor. The input output processor will take care of the input output activities of the multiprocessor system. And third one is loosely coupled configuration, that is multibus configuration. So at first we are going to discuss about the coprocessor and closely coupled configuration. So both are very similar. Both the configuration, coprocessor and closely coupled configurations, both are very similar. So let us see the block diagram of coprocessor and closely coupled configuration. So see, this is the block diagram. So 8086 is the main processor, and here coprocessor or independent processor, it is called as 8087 or 8089. So the clock is common for both the main processor and the coprocessor. And see the bus control logic, memory, IO and system bus. So these are all common for both main processor and then coprocessor. So this is what I already given in the slide. See, it will share the memory, IO system, bus and bus control logic, and fourth one is clock generator. So this is the block diagram of this coprocessor and closely coupled configuration. So now we are going to discuss about the flow chart. So the flow chart of 8086 microprocessor and the coprocessor, and see the flow chart shows some set of steps for 86 microprocessor and here some set of 8087 coprocessor. So this is the flow chart, and first I will explain one by one. So here both the CPU, so CPU is nothing but as 8086 microprocessor, both CPU and coprocessor execute the instruction from the same program. So this is the very first important point. And next point, the CPU fetches the instructions from the memory, and third, 8087 uses some Q status pin to identify and obtain the instruction fetched by host CPU. So host CPU is nothing but as 8086 processor, or simply called as, by using the escape instruction, the main processor is going to wake up the coprocessor. That is what I given. First instruction is escape. So that's the very first one. And next point, the host CPU identifies coprocessor instructions using escape code bits in them. So that's very important. And once the CPU recognizes the escape code, it triggers execution of NDP, that is 8087 instruction in 8087 microprocessor. So while executing escape code, find out the coprocessor instruction which requires memory operand and those which does not require memory operation. So these are important functions of 8087 microprocessor. If instruction does not require any operand, then the instruction is directly executed. So when the 8087 NDP is ready with some execution results, it gets control of the bus from 8086 microprocessor, because the buses are available only from the 8086 microprocessor for transaction or for communication purpose. The buses are very important. So the owner of the buses are 8086 microprocessor. So 8087 need the bus from 8086 microprocessor. When 8087 is ready with the execution results, it get control of the bus from 8086. So after that, the 87 numerical data processor begins execution, and finally it pulls up busy signal. So this busy signal shows the NDP is executing the instructions concurrently. That is very important. So and then so here in this flowchart we are seeing the test pin. So the test pin is very important pin, because the test pin will define the operation of the coprocessor. Let me see the basic concepts of test pin. So this is the input from the 8087 microprocessor. So this pin, when for example during the execution of the wait instruction, the CPU check the test signal, because if the test signal is low, the execution of the signal will continue. If it is not low, it will stop the executing. So that is the basic function of test pin. The test pin is, we already discussed about the pin diagram of 8086 microprocessor. So this is the concurrent work of 86 and 87 microprocessor. So overall, the same instruction will executed by the 86 and 87 microprocessor. If suppose some corresponding instructions of 87, the 87 will executing that only that corresponding instructions. After that, the results will be forward to the 86 microprocessor. So finally, by activating the test pin, the 87 microprocessor will wake up the 8086 microprocessor. So this is the flow chart of coprocessor configuration. And next, the example for a closely coupled execution example. So it is also same. So instead of instead of 8087, here we are using 8089 microprocessor. So 8089 is the input output microprocessor. So shortly it is called as 8089 microprocessor. So see, the closely coupled processor may take control of the bus independently, and two 8086 microprocessor cannot be closely coupled. So let us see the first 8086. First block is setup message. It is nothing but as it is first one. It fetches the instructions from the memory. So here the 8089 communicate with the host processor using a memory table, and after that the memory table contains the detail of task to be executed. That table contains the program, or that table contains some instructions. These tables are prepared by the host CPU to allot a task to the IOP, that is input output processor. Host CPU interrupts input output processor after allotting a task to it. Okay, so by using the out instruction, it will interrupt the 8089 instruction. So this memory table has an address of a program written in the 8089 instructions called a channel program. So after that, the 8089 will execute the channel program, and the 8089 can fetch and execute the instructions on its own, unlike 8087. So finally, when 8089 complete its instruction or complete its task, it again interrupts the CPU. That is what, again it interrupts the 8086 microprocessor, or it maintain a busy flag in memory table, and this flag is always periodically checked by the 8086 microprocessor. So this is the communication between 8086 and 8089. So the 8089 can be in tightly coupled configuration. So it is called as closely coupled configuration. So this is a flowchart explanation of closely coupled configuration. And next, finally, we are going to discuss about the third type, that is loosely coupled configuration. So it is also the last one. So see, we'll see the basic concepts of a loosely coupled configuration. So first, in this configuration, it has shared system bus, system memory, and system input output devices. So this system bus, system memory, and system IO is common for all the processor. And next point, each processor has its own clock as well as its own memory, and it is for medium to large multiprocessor systems. And next point, each module. So a module will contain what? A clock generator, a 86 microprocessor, an independent processor, a memory and bus. So that is called as a one module. So here in loosely coupled configuration, there are n number of modules are there. So and next, and any module could be a processor capable of being a bus master, a co-processor configuration, or a closely coupled configuration. So let us see the block diagram. So here, and there is no direct connections between the modules. So this is very important. There is no direct connections. So each share the system bus and communicate through the shared resources. So this loosely coupled configuration, overall it will improve the degree of concurrent processing. That is what concurrent processing is possible in loosely coupled configuration, and it is very excellent for some real-time applications. And see, this is the block diagram. So the first dotted line, the first dotted box shows the separate module 1, and next dotted block is the module 2, and next is the module 3. See, in this module 1, see, the main processor has a own clock generator, it has a own local bus, local memory, local bus control logic, and system bus control logic. So each processor has a own clock generator, memory, and then bus control. And finally the system bus is there. So the system memory and the system IO devices is common for all the modules which is present in this configuration. So this is called as loosely coupled configuration. So in loosely coupled configuration, let us discuss about the some advantages. So what are the advantages of using some loosely coupled configuration? In this loosely coupled configuration, the very first advantage is the high system throughput. So the throughput will be high. The high system throughput can be easily achieved by having more than one CPU. That is the very first advantage of this loosely coupled configuration. So the throughput will be what? High, because of using more than one CPU, that is using more than one 8086 microprocessor. And the next advantage, this configuration, that is this system can be expanded in the modular form. Okay, so here each bus master module is an independent unit, and very important, we can be easily add some module, or we can be easily remove some module without affecting the system. So that is the another advantage. We can be able to easily add a module in this configuration. And then in this module, see, in this diagram, there are three modules are there. Suppose, for example, if any one of the module is failure, right, that failure will not create any problem in the whole system. That is very important. That is the main advantage of loosely coupled configuration. Okay, so a failure in one module, it does not affect the whole system, and then that failure module and then the faulty module can be easily detected and easily replaced. That is the advantage. Here these are the advantages of using this loosely coupled configuration. And what are the disadvantages of loosely coupled configuration? That is drawback. So the drawback is nothing but as bus contention. So the bus contention is called as nothing but as bus arbitration. So here the process of accessing system bus by more than one processor is called as bus contention. Here make sure that only one processor access the bus at any given time. So this will create some problem. That problem is called as bus contention. Okay, so now we are going to overcome the problem of bus contention. We go for some important techniques or important schemes by using the bus controller. So here the bus controller is called as bus arbiter is called as IC8289. We are going to discuss about that bus arbiter in its loosely coupled configuration. By using this bus arbiter, we can be able to split into three different types of bus allocation scheme. So by using this scheme, we are going to allocate the buses for the processor and then for the some external or internal IO devices in this system. So the three schemes can be given as: first one, daisy chaining method, and next one is polling method, and third type is called as independent request method. So first we are going to discuss the daisy chaining method. So in this block diagram, the bus controller is there, and here the master 1, master 2 up to master n. So there are n number of masters are presented. So here the two common signals in this bus controller, the two are called as the bus request signal is there, and BRQ is nothing but as bus request, and next is called as BBSY. So BBSY is nothing but as bus busy signal. So if any master will request the bus access to the bus controller, so the bus controller will check the availability of the bus. After that, it will give permit to access the bus by using the signal is called as BGR. So BGR is nothing but as bus grant signal. So in this daisy chaining method, so I will do some few important points of daisy chaining method. It needs a bus controller to monitor the bus busy and bus request signal. So thus the controller will monitor the bus request and bus busy signal, and the bus controller will send a bus grant to a master. So the each master either keeps the service or passes it on. So this is the bus grant signal will be provided by the bus controller. The controller will synchronize the clocks of all the masters. Finally, when the access is over, when the bus access is over by the master will release the bus busy signal when it is finished. Suppose if any one of the master will complete the transaction, means that particular master will release the bus busy signal. After that bus will be given to the next master in this system. So this is the daisy chaining method, first method. And second method, polling method. So in this polling method, see it has again bus request signal and bus busy signal is there. So first, here in this method we can use some addresses of master and controller. Here the controller send addresses of device to grant bus access. So instead of BGR in the daisy chaining method, instead of BGR in polling method we are using the bus address. That is what address of the device. Okay, here we can use the priority resolution. So in overall the memory is always the highest priority, so the memory is given the highest priority. So whenever the highest priority is granted first, if it does not respond, then a lower priority is granted, and so on until someone accepts. So this is the polling method of loosely coupled configuration. So this is second bus allocation schemes in the multiprocessor configuration. And third method is called as independent request method. Okay, so here in this independent request method, the bus controller and the master will give a pair of line. So a pair line, that is what a pair of signal. The first signal is nothing but as bus grant given by the bus controller, and BRQ is nothing but as bus request is given by the master. So here in this independent request method, each master has a request and grant line. It has a pair of line, and it could have fixed priority and rotating priority. So there are two types of priority are there. The first one is fixed priority. The fixed priority we can be able to change the priority method, and the rotating priority is nothing but as it is a dynamic method. So we can be easily change. That is a rotating priority. So usually in this method, fixed priority is preferred because fixed priority having a for example, if before I told that in a multiprocessor system, the memory having a highest priority, so we are always giving the first preference to the memory. So only we are using the fixed priority method. So the synchronization of the clock must be performed once your master is recognized. So the master will receive a common clock from one side and pass it to the controller, which will devise a clock for transformer. So this, by using this method, we can predict the accurate calculation. So this is your independent request method. So this is the final allocation scheme, bus allocation schemes of loosely coupled configuration. So yes, this is the concept. So finally, what are the advantages of using the multiprocessor configuration? Okay, so here first point we discussed. First point is high system throughput can be achieved by having more than one CPU. See, it is very simple. So a system will have two more processor will achieve a high throughput. That is the first one. By using the multiprocessor configuration, the throughput will be always high. And second advantage, the system can be expanded in modular form. And last one is a failure in any one module does not affect the whole system. And finally, by using the multiprocessor configuration, the degree of parallel processing is easily achieved. So parallel processing is, that is concurrent operation, is easily achieved by using the multiprocessor configuration. So this is the overall concept of multiprocessor configuration. So let me conclude that multiprocessor configuration is nothing but as a system will have more than 2 processors is called as multiprocessor configuration. So in this first type co-processor configuration, we will seeing some important pins. That is very important pin is test pin. So test pin is very important, and how the test pin is activated. By seeing the test pin, the processor will execute the instruction or it will stop the execution. And in closely coupled configuration, we are using some out instruction and we are using some ready instruction or interrupt request. So 8089 is nothing but as your input output processor. So that is called as multiprocessor configuration. Thank you.